going to call to order the Environmental Advisory Committee meeting on July 8th, 2026 at 2 p.m. Meg, could you do a roll call, please?
Brad Freese.
Here.
Thomas Bradford.
Here.
Michelle Strauss. Jill Wenta. Drew Enriquez. Barbara Gomez.
Here.
Brooke Bonema.
Here.
Okay, no one's here, so no communication from citizens, no presentations. On the consent agenda, all we have is the minutes from our June 10th, 2026 meeting. Would anyone care to motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of last month.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Regular agenda, old business, the Dover Ditch Tour. I think we picked a great day. It's like the hottest day of the summer.
Exactly. It'll be quick. So we're going to do that when the meeting wraps up. It's not mandatory, but if you'd like to go, you're welcome to join. I actually walked it yesterday. It's very lovely. So it'll be just a quick couple-minute walk. I tried to get Allison, our water utilities director, there, but she's actually on her honeymoon right now, so she's not able to attend. But David Tinoco from the water department, I believe, is going to join us, so he'll be able to walk us through it a little bit. But just wanted to give a quick run through of the Dover Ditch project, especially for our new members, in case you guys hadn't really seen this before. This is a presentation that was given last year on this project. The Dover Ditch is a half-mile-long drainage canal that borders village of Tequesta and Jupiter. It provides flood protection in the village. The embankment of the canal had eroded and was kind of dumping a lot of water into the water body, and then it was kind of shoaling up and plugging the where it enters the North Fork of the Loxahatchee, or whichever fork that is.
I think that's right.
It's North Fork? Okay, good. So. And so this project was kind of designed to eliminate some of those things, but also to enhance it and create kind of a living shoreline. So this was the existing conditions before. As you see, there was some sod, but also some dirt there. So a lot of that kind of eroded into the water body. The proposed design and what ended up getting built is pretty similar to what you see here. It's still growing in, so these trees, when you visit the site, are still fairly small. But long term, I think the hope is that it grows to look something like this. So it was just dredging, realigning, and stabilizing the westernmost portion of it. So it's just the part west of Riverside, not east of Riverside. I think there is some hope to do that long term. But right now we're just, we got funding for the western part of it. It was to create a meandering channel. So I think the meandering helps filter the water a little bit too before it goes out, and also kind of can create some increased fish habitat, and then create a living shoreline with aesthetic benefits. So kind of on the western portion of it you see there, that's a mangrove marsh that's supposed to be adding to the mangroves that are actually, you'll see when we walk this site, there's a lot of mangroves out at the entrance where it runs into the Loxahatchee. And then as you get further to the east, it's creating a maritime hammock, and then there's a concrete weir at the far eastern portion of it. Here's some cross sections. We don't have to get too far into this, but there's basically 2 maritime hammock planting areas and 2 salt marsh areas. And this is just some detail about the funding of it. It was kind of a split cost between town of Jupiter and Tequesta, and we also got some funding for it. And with that, that's my presentation. I'm sure David can share a lot more specific details about it when we walk the site.
Okay. Questions? All right. Next is new business. Back to Jay for the future JILONA tour discussion that we had discussed a little bit last year. At least we last month. At least we touched on it.
Yep. So I had reached out to Peter DeWitt, who is the head of JILONA, and just to let him know that we are interested in having having a tour, an event that's geared more towards the public. They did host an event. Brad, do you recall when that was? Probably in like January.
Yeah, it was early.
Probably about January, February. They did a tour that was for the village council members, village staff, and the EAC. But I think it'd be nice to have one where the general public's invited to come. And so Peter is open and excited about that idea. He did say that it's not going to open until December 3rd. So perhaps it's something that we would do in the fall, to your point earlier, Brad, maybe at a time when it cools off a little bit. So just want to check and see if...
Only one tour in the heat of the summer, right?
Right.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, just want to see if there are any thoughts, do we want to do it probably in the early evening when people can come after work? Do we want to do it on a weekend? What month is best? Just open any thoughts and ideas, and we can touch base with Peter and then lock something up.
But we can, so you said December.
December is when it is completed.
So if we go in like November, it'll be almost completed.
Yep.
I mean, sometime in November would work. I like the idea of a little bit later in the afternoon, so, there won't be any conflicts with schedules. But
There might be an opportunity we could link it up with another event that I'm planning to host in November, which is the dedication of US 1 as part of the East Coast Greenway. So the East Coast Greenway is basically a bike trail from Maine all the way to Key West. And there's links of it all throughout Florida. We're eligible to be designated as part of it, as part of the lane repurposing that was done a few years ago. And so the village council adopted a resolution a couple of months ago to designate it as part of the East Coast Greenway. And we are going to have a kind of a ribbon cutting grand opening event, which we might be able to do kind of in that area, like maybe even at the northern part of JILONA, and then have an opportunity where people could go to the ribbon cutting and then following that go to the tour of JILONA. So maybe it makes it worth people's while to come out for either of those events. So if you're open to that, I could try and sync those two up, or we could have it as a standalone event.
Is that in early November?
It is tentatively November 11th, 12th, or 13th. The 11th is Veterans Day, which we would be off, but we could probably have it then. The 12th is a village council meeting, so it's tough to have that in the evening or late afternoon for that. And then the 13th, I think the mayor said that a bunch of the council people are going to be at a Florida League of Cities thing. So.
Well, I was just wondering, the closer you get to Thanksgiving, the harder it is.
Yeah.
But whatever works is okay with me. But the closer you get to Thanksgiving, the harder it's going to be to have the turnout that you want.
Any concerns about having it on Veterans Day? Or is that easier because people are off and maybe have a little bit more freedom to do stuff?
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I wouldn't either.
Okay.
That works.
Okay.
Yep.
Try and make that happen.
Okay. All right. Next, Tequesta Park update. Back to Jay.
So I'm going to read something that was given to me by village manager Jeremy Allen. The Tequesta Park project is really kind of a passion project for him and something he's been working on for a really long time. So he had a really nice win on that project, and I'm just going to read what he wrote about it. So he wrote, "I'm excited to share some updates about Tequesta Park and what's ahead for our community. The park bill has officially been approved by both the legislature and the governor, marking a significant milestone for us. While we are actively working with state staff to complete the process for the deed of the park over to the village, we don't officially own it just yet, but that's of course in process. Once everything is finalized, we look forward to hosting a dedication ceremony to celebrate this achievement. The process could take a few months, so we appreciate your patience as we move forward. For more than 50 years, since 1973, Tequesta Park has been a cornerstone for generations of families, and we've proudly served as its caretakers. This brings a major change. We are transitioning from caretakers to permanent owners, and throughout most of the lease, the village has shouldered maintenance and improvement costs, which are estimated to be $250,000 to $300,000 a year. Recently, the state contributed a $340,000 appropriation to help plan for the park's future, and those plans are nearly complete. We anticipate submitting a site plan to Martin County, though there is no set timeline at this moment. And just to add some color to that, because it's in Martin County, we actually have to go through their site plan review process. We did have a pre-development application meeting with the county, and they were very receptive to the project. So I think that will hopefully go through pretty smoothly. And then Jeremy wanted to again emphasize that preparation for the plans began back in October of 2021, crafted through extensive community input. The Village Master Plan, which encompasses all of Village's parks, was adopted on June 9th, 2022, and it is notably different from what currently exists in the park. At this point, the Village does not have the dedicated funding for the Master Plan, but expect to implement it in phases, similar to how the Village implements road projects, sidewalks, Remembrance Park, which, as you may or may not know, we're kind of phasing the construction of Remembrance Park too. We're also going to seek grants and phase the construction so that there isn't any undue strain on taxpayers. One thing that's probably of specific note to the EAC is the invasive species removal project that's taken place there. The full details about the invasive species removal are on the village's website under the title Tequesta Park Habitat Restoration Project. I can email this to you after the meeting just so you have a reference of where it is. So the village was required to remove invasive species by 2031 as part of the state's mandated maintenance plan. So we were fortunate to secure a grant opportunity through the FWC, which allowed us to remove the invasive species at no cost to the village. And the village is also planning a controlled burn and have approved repairs to the park's fence. So in partnership to the FWC's IPMS program, eradication of 4 FIC Category 1 non-native plant species, Brazilian pepper, carrotwood, earleaf, acacia, and schefflera, across approximately 25 acres of natural area. Work was initiated March 30th, and using mechanical and treat-in-place techniques, the goal is to restore and revitalize the unique Florida coastal scrub habitat within Tequesta Park. So if you've been through there, you might notice that it seems like, a lot's been cleared out, but it's entirely invasive plants, and the goal is to get it back to being a Florida scrub environment. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you have any questions for the village manager, I'm happy to relay those to him as well.
So it seemed to me that since the cost to do everything was pretty hefty, that the staff is trying to look at elements that should come first, second, third, whatever, and figure out incrementally to get the job done. Is that fair to say it that way?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, I know some of the council members, when they saw the price tag, they were like, whoa. But you can break it down and to get it done over time.
Yeah. And get some grants, and again, because the state gave a $340,000 appropriation for the planning and design of it, I think there's a little bit of hope that we might get an appropriation for construction down the road too, along with grant opportunities, partnerships, things like that. So all avenues will be pursued, but I know it's a huge priority for the village manager and a lot of the village council members.
What is being planned and then designed? Because it's already a park, it already has facilities. What, are you just adding to it or enhancing it?
I should have known to have
They had a water feature. They were going to do a water feature. They had several different kind of pods. One area was a water feature, and then they were going to improve the baseball fields and the tennis courts, and I think there was a picnic area that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it's going to cost, but it was beautiful.
Now they have a couple dog walking areas in that.
Yeah, improve the dog park. That was part of it.
I think the plan is on the Park and Recreation page?
It's on the website. I'll see if I can pull it up now. There is a flex field too. So there's two baseball fields proposed, I think both varying sizes. Then there's like a flex field, which could be used for soccer, lacrosse, football. I think there's sand volleyball, more tennis, more pickleball. They've kind of changed the orientation of the parking, new playgrounds. I mean, it's a completely new thing. So let's see what I can find.
And so this was a county park for Martin County, correct, prior?
Well,
State.
That was a state park?
Well, the land is owned by the state.
John-
Okay.
Jonathan Dickinson land.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it's part of JD Park.
It was previously part of that, so it's always been owned by the state, but it's been a Tequesta park that we took on all the management of it, but didn't have ownership of it. So there was, always like a little bit of hesitancy to invest heavily in it without having full ownership of it.
Sure.
Didn't the Kiwanis Club at one point contribute greatly to the care and the upkeep of that park? That's why it was referred to as Kiwanis Park for a while. There's a marker there, a historical marker there regarding that.
Tequesta took it over from Kiwanis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's been Tequesta ever since.
Yeah. Right.
I will send out a draft of the park design to you guys, along with the other link I was going to send. I can't, it's not on the website, or if it is, I can't find it.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
Regarding the future plans for that park. I understand the idea of being able to get grants and so forth, and I think they'll be able to do some of that. But what is the ramification for Parks and Recreation for the staff? Right now, I mean, there's 2 or 3 full-time people, then several part-time people in Parks and Rec. How is that something that large going to affect the budget for Parks and Rec, and in light of the fact that we're looking at perhaps budget cuts if the property tax thing goes through?
Phenomenal question.
It's
yeah.
worrisome.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't think that there will be much need for additional staff for programming in the park. I think the plan is to keep it generally, Constitution Parks, where I think the village will continue having most of its events, and where most of the Parks and Rec staff will be dedicated to. But you're right that the maintenance costs will go up, so that's going to have to be factored into any capital costs to update and change the park. If the parks, so that's one thing, if you're talking to people in the community and in general, and that are Florida residents and voters, that if the property tax cut passes, there are going to be a loss of park services. I mean, that people don't realize, but that's where your tax dollars go. So it's going to impact your police, it's going to impact your fire, but it's also going to impact your parks. I think there's an idea out there that it's just government's overly bureaucratic and that they're bloated and overstaffed, and I think there probably are some examples like that. But in the village of Tequesta, we are lean and mean and efficient, and so it'll have some big impacts on the village for sure.
And I think that, and I probably council is aware, but there's a lot of history and there's people who have lived that history still in this community. And they're looking at this park now as we're going back to how it used to be in the early 70s. You can see it in their comments on social media when you're out and you're socializing with these people, that they envision events in that park again like it used to be. And I don't see how that can be done without the village having to spend money for extra staff, for, police, security. I think we have to be realistic about that. And I am concerned, because I think the residents may be a little bit disappointed if they don't see the vision. And it takes a long time to get there.
Are you thinking like in terms of events like the, what was that thing where they had the bands playing? I can't remember.
America Choose 50.
Pardon?
The music series?
Yeah, the concert series.
Concert
Are you
series.
thinking like concert
Well,
series?
It could be that, it could be, we used to have craft shows there. There used to be a lot of different activities that went on there that brought the community to the park.
Mm-hmm.
And people my age and younger that were a part of that think that it's going to go back to something similar, and it may. That may be in the works.
And so if it does, you're worried about the staff, the budget?
The budget, the staff, and the reality of it, facing the current legislation. Under normal conditions, not so much, but facing the current legislation.
The property tax?
Already built into that is they cannot cut back police and fire. They have to maintain that same level of service. Let's say the whole thing passes, and we have drastic cuts. Written into that bill is that the municipalities have to be able to provide that same level of service. You can't cut police and fire. So things like Parks and Rec are going to be,
I don't think it's, what you said is true for police and fire. At the last minute, the Senate made it, they can be cut.
It was schools were the only one that was
They're the
excluded.
only
They
ones
did.
that are
Okay.
untouchable.
okay, stand corrected, okay.
But if property tax reform does pass, then, you know, how the village operates everything, including recreation in Tequesta Park, will become under a microscope probably, to figure out how to run it in the future.
And I don't want to drag this out, but lastly, you know, the town of Jupiter had to go to a system where you pay to play now pretty much if you're not a Jupiter resident. And I think we need to look at that a little bit. I hate to say that because it involves kids, but I think we have to stay kind of competitive or, you know, with the other areas around us, and we need to look at that as far as maybe imposing some fees to non-residents.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, and during the concert series, there was a nominal charge for non-residents to enter the concert. I forget, it might have been $5 or $10.
I think it's closer to $10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 5.
But we need to look at it in regards to JTAA or any other group or that uses the fields for competition, just like Jupiter's had to do, because they've done that, because they see what's coming down the pike, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm pretty sure if property reform passes, fees and assessments and all of that's it's all gonna happen. So the question is, if everything gets offset by fees and assessments, do we really have a property tax reform? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, I see what you're saying. It
Well,
still
well,
goes
I
right
mean-
back
I mean,
to the
if-
consumer, to the residents.
But what I'm saying, if you're paying, say, $5,000 a year in property taxes, and now the property tax reform drops it to $2,000, I'm making this up, $2,500, but the government finds a way to assess and to give you fees to make that up, you're still at $5,000. What
Yeah.
difference to you is that? To me, it just sees, it's just a shell game is all that it is. So I think you now know where I stand on the subject.
I had a fun comment to make, but not a good place to do it. Anything else on that? All right, thank you, Jay. This next one, case study Shoreline Development. This is kind of out of our ballpark. Doesn't really have anything to do with Tequesta. However, I thought it'd be important to take a closer look at an Army Corps of Engineering permit request in light of, and this is for Barbara and Brooks, benefit for many months prior to the Living Shoreline Ordinance that was passed here in Tequesta. We had month after month of discussions, it seems, for quite a while here in the Environmental Advisory Committee about our Living Shoreline Ordinance. And it did pass, and thankfully, and it's a very, I think, a step in the right direction with regard to enhancing the quality of the Loxahatchee River through our waterfront property owners, as well as the resiliency factor as it relates to storms and protection against storms and flooding. In this particular case study, it is in Palm Beach County. I'm not going to say exactly where it's at. It's on the PDF that I sent. This is a public document, but there are just certain things that probably aren't appropriate in our forum to talk about. But it is in Palm Beach County. It is a single-family residence that has applied probably to a bunch of places for permits to do this, but I just happened to come across this Corps of Engineering, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering permit. This particular document was published last month. It's a public notice. It allows people an opportunity, anyone, an opportunity to comment on what is summarized in this document. I'm going to go through some of the things that caught my eye right out of the gate. And most of this is geared towards the natural environment as it exists now and what will occur if this permit and probably a lot of the other permits are granted and they move forward with this construction. Under proposed, did you guys have a chance to read this prior? Yeah, oh, good, okay.
Brad, I have it pulled up here, so if you need to refer to anything.
Yeah, you can go to the beginning part under proposed work. Yeah. So, and this is probably a question, I don't know if anyone has any experience with these sort of permits, but under number 1, remove approximately, almost 5,000 square foot of mangroves to construct what they want to do. Under avoidance and minimization, proposed project will have 859 square feet of direct impacts to the existing mangrove wetland and 54,000 and some change square foot, which is about equal to 1.25 acres of total seagrass impacts, direct impacts, and 31,337 square feet. Wait a minute, what did I have to total? Okay, total, and direct impacts of 31,337 square feet from the proposed fill, seawall riprap and tidal waters, and secondary impacts are 23,000, almost a little over 23,000 square feet. So there's a lot of impact to the natural environment as it exists now. And the part that really caught my eye, and probably the part that made me think, well, I think this might be something interesting for the EAC to kind of dive into, is this compensatory mitigation. I wasn't 100%, I didn't realize this sort of thing occurs, but I'm going to read it as well. To offset impacts to what I just went through, the applicant proposes to enhance a 1 acre area adjacent seagrass bed and to purchase, and this was the part that got me, saltwater credits from the Everglades Mitigation Bank. So I sort of did a deep dive on that. And Brooke, I don't know if you have any experience with these sort of things. You probably do. So you're welcome to comment, but let me get through it first. I did, because it's like, okay, I have mitigation bank. I can only think of carbon credits, and I think it acts kind of the same way, but they're replacing, the natural flora and fauna with a property owner that just buys credits.
Can I jump in and share one thing before we get
Sure,
I just want to say one thing real quick because it's important to this.
please.
When we adopted the Living Shorelines ordinance, I put a fill permit section in there that is the same thing that we had in North Palm Beach. And so it requires village council approval anytime someone brings fill in waterward of the mean high water line. So to do this, they would have to get approval from our village council, which I don't think the village council would ever approve. So I think we're probably protected against something crazy like this one. But I don't know that Jupiter or unincorporated Palm Beach County has the same protection. So something like this could happen nearby, just probably not in our jurisdictional boundaries.
Yeah. And that's the reason I said this is just one of the groups that he's had to apply, or this property owner's had to apply to get a permit. I'm sure there are, local municipality as well as county and state, and I know there's federal, this is federal, and there's a few others if you read further. There's a lot of eyes on something like this, but it just, this part, I was like, okay. So let me continue. The applicant calculated that the functional loss of 1 1/4 acres of seagrass is 0.419 units or unit, and the functional loss of 0.2 acre of mangroves is 0.013. So this is the part I don't understand, and maybe someone else can make sense of it. At the very first part under proposed work, it says remove approximately 4,965 square feet of mangroves, and yet in their calculation, they're only showing that the proposed project will have a direct impact of 859 square feet. I don't know about the rest of you, but if you remove mangroves, that's a direct impact. But so I find a problem with their calculations. Anyway, so the functional loss of 0.2 acres of mangroves is 0.013 units for a total loss of 0.432 units. Okay. Now, this particular property owner decided, well, I'll enhance an acre of seagrass as part of this project for the total project, which would give him a 0.1 unit gain. So he would work that back in this particular case. So the remaining 0.332 functional loss would be offset by the purchase of 0.332 credits from the EMB. So I was like, well, how much is one of these credits cost? And I did some research, and according to the research I did, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers works with one of the, I don't know if you will call them banks. It's called Hole in the Donut Compensation Mitigation Mechanism. And it's the only mechanism that the Corps uses in compensatory calculations for permits in the area. 1 unit costs $78,000. Multiply that times 0.332 credits, which this property owner has decided to pay. That's a little over $25,000. So an enormous impact to the environment around that area, with all the things that are his particular, his or her, I don't know who it is, but a lot of changes to that area for $25,000 on I am flabbergasted, and I wouldn't understand why something like this would be permitted.
It says the applicant is Daniel Taylor.
I didn't want to bring names or locations into our forum, but everything is there. It's a public document, but I don't think it's appropriate to bring their name or the location, other than it's in Palm Beach County.
Well, the reason I meant bringing it up, this project sounds like something, and Jay may remember it. There's this guy who's a resident of Riviera Beach,
Oh.
and I think he allegedly lives somewhere on Singer Island where this project's taking place. And he sues Riviera Beach all the time for everything under the sun. And he tries to do these wacky projects to tick them off and make them say, no, you can't do it. Then he sues, saying, yes, I can. Your code says, I think it's that.
Yeah,
And
could
this
be.
man that says applicant, he might just be an engineer that's doing it on behalf of this wacko that lives down there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Unfortunately, I've dealt with him because in North Palm we got kind of entangled in that. So Fane Lozman is his name.
Yes, that's him.
So yeah, he's proposed all kinds of crazy fill projects because he actually owned part of the Lake Worth Lagoon. It's the way that the boundaries worked. So he was of the opinion that he could fill that in and develop that area, and Riviera Beach said he couldn't, and it was a very complicated legal process. So I didn't look into this one. It's very possible that it's from him or an associate.
It sounds like one of the things that you just described, or he.
Well, yeah, the applicant is applying from somewhere here in Tequesta, so it's probably representing obviously somebody else.
Yeah.
The name on the applicant is a marine or coastal engineer, I believe.
So,
My money's on the wacko.
well, obviously this has been allowed before, this compensatory mitigation that you can go in and buy your way into destroying whatever you want to destroy. But even if this person was to enhance part of the seagrasses in a certain area, that area has its own ecosystem. It serves its own set of sea inhabitants. Where he is going to build or destroy, I want to say, that may be a similar ecosystem, but it may have other inhabitants in it itself. So I don't see where one offsets the other. The damage is still the damage. But obviously a precedent has been set for people to be able to do this. If you have the money, you can do it and get it through. And I think they were saying the Army Corps of Engineers was looking for people to give opinions or groups to give opinions on the matter, and they have a date when they want the opinions submitted. Is that what we're doing? Are we actually going to, as a group, give an opinion on the whole project?
That wasn't my intention.
Okay.
My intention was just to bring it to light and discuss it because of our past discussions about the Tequesta Living Shoreline Ordinance. This was just as kind of an example. I certainly wouldn't have a problem with some sort of response to this. I think it's due the 13th.
FDEP and who's the other character? Army Corps, they do accept comments from the public.
Well, that's what this document
That's what it
is
was.
asking for.
Right,
The
it
public.
was.
Yeah, this is the public.
Yep.
Legally, the village council is likely the only Tequesta body that could really make a formal ruling on that. So unless they directed the EAC to make a ruling, I don't think they'd be comfortable with us. As much as they know and trust you guys,
No.
they wouldn't want us dipping our toes in other people's business.
And
just-
that makes
just yet.
that makes sense.
I would like them to at least look at it. I think it's worthy of the council looking at it, and if they see their way clear to give an opinion. I mean, the reason why we passed the ordinance here for living shoreline should apply everywhere. I mean, it was sound principles that it was founded on. And we've set an example here in Tequesta that I think is a good one.
One of the things that I saw was the application says that they're going to remove like 4,900 square feet of mangroves, and then they're going to replace that area with riprap.
Yep.
And they don't say anything about mangroves being reinstalled that I saw. And when I've done these projects before for the town of Palm Beach, if we put riprap up, we had to also put mangroves in as well. So I don't know, it seems deficient, at least in that perspective.
Yeah.
That taking away and not adding back is what it looks like.
I agree.
So the comments are due July 13th, so we would not have enough time to run this by our village council. What we could do is reach out to Palm Beach County's Environmental Resource Management. I'm sure they're well aware of this, and just see what their thoughts are and what the status is on it. And we can also reach out to the North Palm Beach Environmental Committee and their staff, because they're right across there, and they're very active. They have Karen Marcus on their environmental committee, who's very active in things, and so we can kind of see what their thoughts are on it, and then just, tell them, not officially, but that we support any opposition to it.
Is Karen still on that committee?
I believe she's still the chair of their environmental committee, but I know she's, in the Sustainable Palm Beach County, I'm sure that group is very active, so they're probably well aware of it.
No, what you just said makes sense to me. We don't have time, we don't even have the authority as a group to say anything.
But maybe the follow-up too is reaching out to to find out if something similar could be done in unincorporated Palm Beach County around here, and the town of Jupiter, to see if someone could do something similar in the town of Jupiter portion of the Loxahatchee. But like I said, with our fill permit process, it would have to get a council approval, and it's counter to a lot of things that are in our comprehensive plan. So I don't think somebody would be able to do anything like this, even with all the mitigation stuff. But I think it's a great idea to make sure that our neighbors can't do the same thing.
Do we have precedent in Tequesta for people offsetting development with credits, or has that not been an issue Tequesta has faced?
Not that I'm aware of. It's possible it happened, a long time ago when things were getting developed on Beach Road or on the Intracoastal, but I'm not really aware of it. We're lucky that we don't have much commercial and multifamily development on our waterways, but single family homes, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but as you can see, it's enormous impact, not just on the seagrass, not just on the mangroves, but look at all the fauna or flora, all the animals that turtles and fish, and I mean, it's amazing. And I know exactly where it's at. I'll take my boat down to Munyon Island quite a bit, and it's right across from Little Munyon Island. And it's a very vibrant ecosystem right in that area. It's somewhat shallow, and all of these fish, I've seen pretty much all of these fish there. So this is a real assessment of the impact, at least from a wildlife perspective. And the mangroves and seagrass, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I got hooked up with this thing. I think I got a notice in the email or something. Because I don't go on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering site ever. And I just happened across this and couldn't believe my eyes. But it does happen, obviously.
I don't know. They've stopped. If it's who I think it is, they have stopped him before.
Yeah.
He comes up with these kind of
Crazy stuff.
Brad, what's the address of the house? Do you know?
Pardon?
The address of, let's see, should we say that out here in this forum?
You mean where it?
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll look it up.
It's at the top under applicant.
It would appear that from the conclusions that they've made here, that they're probably going to get denied.
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, the last paragraph, was, it determined that the proposed project affects species and critical habitats. I mean, they're saying it's critical habitats, so I can't see them okaying this.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And then if it's the guy I think it is, he's going to appeal and
Well.
appeal and appeal. He finally lost a couple of times to Riviera Beach.
It became national news a few years ago. It was a big production. I think you guys are right, and there's a lot of environmental advocacy in the Lake Worth Lagoon. So there's a Lake Worth Lagoon keeper. There's at MacArthur Beach they have like quarterly meetings with all the people that are concerned in the Lake Worth Lagoon. It's very advanced as far as environmental advocacy. So I would imagine there's a lot of opposition to this, but we'll kind of check behind the scenes and see what's going on and report back.
Yeah. And I'm going to keep an eye on it as it progresses. Just, I'm with you though, Barbara. And it doesn't look promising, but you never know.
Every agency that they listed here said it's detrimental.
Yeah.
So I don't see how it could go through.
No.
But
We'll
money makes a difference.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. All right, anything else on that? I'm sorry, I didn't want it to be a waste of time. I don't think it was, but it doesn't really have any direct impact on Tequesta. But
But it does.
it does, I mean.
It does on us as a whole, all our communities, when these kind of things get destroyed. Because you never really get them back.
No,
So it does.
100%. Yeah.
So thanks for bringing it to our attention.
All right. Next, any other further comments from committee?
Yeah, what is that program called? Is it the oyster garden? Is that what we call it?
Vertical oyster.
VOGs, Vertical Oyster Garden.
That hangs from the dock, can hang from a dock?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do we have an idea about how many people have done it?
That might be a Michelle question. She's-
I know that the group that's doing it, the Eco Scouts, the Eco Scouts are actively installing them throughout the summer, and they're continuing to make some and install them, throughout the summer. But I was going to have the woman who runs the Eco Scouts come out and do a presentation at the next meeting, because apparently they're also doing like a clam restoration project also. And I think it's in partnership with UF or Miami or something. So they're doing really cool stuff. So that might be a good time to figure that out. And also talk about next steps and ways to keep working with those guys.
Okay.
And on that note, I think it was Barbara at our last meeting had mentioned, about outside of Tequesta, can you hang them on docks that are outside Tequesta? And I guess technically we can't, but couldn't we charge like a nominal fee and recoup whatever the cost is per vertical oyster garden outside of Tequesta?
Yeah, we could do that. And that's only for ones where, where the villages, where we're using our own dollars for, right? Like the Eco Scouts are doing some outside of Tequesta, but that's with ones that they've made themselves.
Right.
But just the ones that we funded and that we created our own event, we're trying to keep those ones, within Tequesta. But when they come talk to us, that's a good idea and something we could talk about.
Yeah. So maybe we can, if we
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah.
Great.
Great idea.
Anything else? Any other comments?
Regarding this or the.
Regarding anything, any other just general comments by committee members?
I just was wondering how we could, what best value we can be to the council. I think what we've talked about here today regarding this development in Riviera Beach and bringing it to light. I think that's very important. I know we're not going to meet the deadline for the council to actually make any kind of recommendation or stand. But how are we best serving our council? How are we best serving our village? And how do we really get our information out there? Are just some questions that I have, and can we improve those things as a group? I'm new, I'm not criticizing, I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to navigate it.
No, it's a good question. So this came up recently before you and Brooke were appointed, and we concluded, or at least I concluded in the conversation that we had as a board, was that our number, in fact, it had to do with the oyster garden thing. It was that, for example, we're not going to take over an operation to secure oyster shells and go to the restaurants and pick them up and all this other stuff. But what we did in that regard boiled down to one word. It was awareness. We had an event with the people that Jay mentioned earlier at a, I don't remember, it was something in Constitution Park, and we made the community by putting it on one of those Friday digital things they send out, aware that this was a thing. And so in my mind, our job is to make people aware. Things like PFAS, shoreline stabilization, and just to make people aware. And so, you know, if like this thing here was being built in the Loxhatchee River, we would probably end up asking Brad to go to the council and tell him to do something about it.
No,
It's you know, Brad saw that. He is creating awareness about things that happen that are not necessarily good. And so in my mind, just to summarize, it's just awareness. Our job is to help people remain and be aware of things that are impacting the environment all around us.
So was the group helpful in getting the recent rule passed about the living shoreline? Did y'all have an active role in that before
we
it
did.
happened?
We did, but somebody with a better memory than me needs to tell her what it was. But we're very active.
We workshopped the code with the EAC probably twice. Got a few suggestions on that. A lot of that was from the council, right? So the council, when they do it goes back to strategic planning a little bit. So the council does their strategic plan every year in March and April. And then from there, those are kind of like the big tasks that they want, you know, the council or they want the village staff and they want the boards to look at throughout the year. And so in past years, living shorelines was a big one, green building, incentives was a big one, and you know, trees, things like that. And they would kind of task this board with doing that. And so I think this year we had Brad go to the EAC or to council and make a few suggestions about things to work on. And I think vertical oyster gardens were one of them. Tree plantings were another one. One was the hazardous waste thing, which we just don't have the money for this year. I can't remember what they all are, but a lot of times the direction does come from the council level. Even that vertical oyster garden event, that came from Councilman Sartori was meeting with Karen Marcus or somebody from North Palm Beach, and they're like, hey, our environmental committee is doing this great project with the Palm Beach Fishing Club. You guys should do the same thing. And then Councilman Sartori put it in my lap, and then we kind of took it on. So a lot of times they want to be the ones to direct the EAC what to look at and what to keep an eye on. Especially, you know, when new legislation comes up, which will generally start happening from the state in January, February, of the year. They'll sometimes have the EAC, want the EAC's input on that. So sometimes it comes from them, but to your point, if there are pressing things or big ideas or big thoughts that you have, we can always workshop them here, talk with them, and then kind of workshop it with the council.
Well, I would just hope that as we move forward, as they move forward with the Tequesta Park and the upgrades to the park, that we remember that it's part of Jonathan Dickinson. It's part of an entire ecosystem that exists there, and the things that we do need to have as little impact as possible on the wildlife, because there is wildlife that still goes through there every evening. If you walk that park at night, you'll see all kinds of things.
Yeah, deer.
Deer. I mean, I know everybody hates coyotes, but coyotes, deer. I mean, raccoons. They're all a part of that. And I think we need to be real careful as we upgrade that park. And maybe we could have an active role in looking at that in the future. And anything else that they see coming down the pike that we can look at ahead of time and be able to make recommendations, which I'm sure y'all have done, but I'm sure there are things that'll be coming in the future that can be brought to our attention.
I'm going to piggyback on what Tom said. Even to go back further, when the EAC was first created by council, our duties were very, the proper word maybe is transactional. Our responsibility given to us by council was to review the comprehensive plan for Tequesta. And every meeting we had a certain number of chapters that we were to review prior to the meeting and then discuss line by line all those things that impacted the environment. So we had plenty to do. That role has, in my mind, in my opinion, has evolved over time because we finished what we were tasked to do with the comprehensive plan. And now, I don't know if stewardship might be the right word, but we're sort of the stewardship committee for the environment in Tequesta, as opposed to more of a transactional committee. So that's the reason I always ask at the end of meetings, if any of you have any ideas, like some of the ideas that you brought to the fore with regard to trying to keep Tequesta Park safe for the Jonathan Dickinson State Park side of it, or compliant with, I don't know how you'd word that necessarily, but not to change it so much that it has a negative impact on the wildlife that's there, I think is a great idea. And that's something that I think our committee could say, hey, yeah, that's a super idea, and that sort of information gets to Jay, and if it comes up during council meetings, I think Jay would probably be the one to say something about that through the opinions that we gave to him. I would also, I've been to the council meeting a number of times, and Tom has as well, and we've done our share in front of them. I have no problem doing that either. If it's something that's really important to the Environmental Advisory Committee, and it's something that we'd like council's ears on, I think we're always welcome at the council meetings. I could be wrong. No, I think they're happy to hear from us. So yeah, our role has kind of evolved over time. We're a little different than we were, at least when I started and when Tom was here before me. I've been here, I think, a little over 4 years. And Tom, you've been here much longer than that, right?
Since summer of 2019 is when we were first started.
Okay. Yeah, so just a little history.
Yeah.
But yeah, please bring any Bree, any items, anything you want to discuss? This is more of an open forum. We don't have to follow Robert's Rules of Order too much, like council does, because council has a laundry list of things they have to go through at each of their meetings. So, but good comment, thank you.
How can we learn sort of best practices from other, it sounds like there are other environmental advocacy committees nearby. Is there like a way we've been learning best practices from what they're doing in their communities that we can learn from or share what we've done with them?
I have not been to any of their meetings. I have gone on their website, and some websites are a little better than others in the various municipalities that do have environmental advisory committees. Probably speaking to one or a couple of the committee members, over the phone or maybe via email, get some scope on what they're doing, what's working, what isn't working. Probably be the best, but
Hey,
I mean,
Jay, is Jupiter's, are they still active?
They're really not. I think they do quarterly or even biannual, and I just happened to look at their agenda from their last month, and it was a very small agenda. So I don't think they're extremely active at this point.
Yeah,
The North Palm one is much more active, and that's a lot of that in part due to it's a very strong board because they have Karen Marcus and several other people that have been on there for a long time, and they do a lot of like hands-on activities, and so that'd be a good one if anyone knows Karen Marcus or anyone else on that board. That's a good group to kind of see what they've been working on.
So, okay, so we got North Palm, maybe for Jupiter, and I know that Juno Beach has what they call an ecology group, which is, we could have a debate about whether it should be under the Sunshine Law, but it's just a group of citizens. Their primary focus seems to be on Pelican Lake, but maybe not, I don't know. The reason I'm asking, I'm trying to think, I could pose the question to AI and see, what are these other nearby groups doing, and it would just spit it out within, 30 seconds. But I just don't know who else is out there, but I know North Palm is strong. I consider us to be strong, Jupiter, and then Juno Beach, I don't know, but there could be others in the county.
There's others in the county, and I know we found a list of them, and I feel like it was around 7 or 8 total. I have the list somewhere, but the only ones in North County are us, Jupiter, and North Palm. So the other ones are, I think like Delray might have one. I know Boca has one. Maybe Wellington. They're generally big cities. One thought I've even thought of this, but never mentioned it, is just having a joint meeting with the Jupiter group just to see what they're working on and see what kind of cross pollination is needed. Like that idea of the fill permit, right? We can just say, hey, these are things we've done. Have you done these? Hey, we just adopted a green building ordinance. Have you done that? It's a thought.
I like that. I've done that, not on environmental subjects, but other things, and it usually goes well.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like if we contacted North Palm and offered, requested, could we have a joint meeting with you, and we brainstorm or share ideas, however you call it.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest Jupiter first, just because there's so much. We share municipal boundaries and we share waterways with them, so that might be the best one. And maybe there's even we get speaker series. Maybe there's a way that we even do joint speaker series meetings with them, so that like Joe Chasen isn't having to come give presentations to both cities. So that's who was speaking at their most recent meeting. They had Joe from the Jupiter Inlet District. So maybe there's an opportunity where we could kind of join forces a little bit.
There was, just to give you guys a feel of things, so back, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, something came up here, and so Bob Shaw, Jessica Namath, and myself were requested to go to the Jupiter Environmental Committee, and I can't remember what the subject was, but their board ended up asking us when we were there, what all are you guys doing?
Of course.
Okay, so we told them what we were doing, and they were shocked. They reached out to us afterwards, I think the chair did, and saying, okay, how are you doing all this? Where do you get your information from, and so forth? And David Brown, he ended up, David is like the he's
Utilities
retired
director,
now, isn't
yeah.
he? Utility director there at Jupiter, and he told me, he said basically his take on it was the council wasn't that interested in what they did, and they basically have no staff support like you and Meg are helping us. They had nothing, and so they're kind of on their own. But they were just visibly shocked. You're doing this and you're doing that and you're doing your what's comp plan and blah 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 blah. They were just.
I mean, Tequesta, we punch way above our weight class as a city in general. We just do. So it's not surprising.
So as it stands today, if we do that joint meeting with someone, it would be, I think, North Palm.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think the fact that Tequesta is so unique with, like you said, the bar being so high, has got to help in some respects when they go to write for grants, that they know that they have this kind of support when they're doing, for whatever, if they need grants for Tequesta Park. I think our role there could perhaps be significant on some things, that we could be a help as we go down the line with that. It's just something to think about.
But there is nothing to, let's say that this catastrophe that's on the screen there, let's say somebody in Tequesta was trying to do that, okay? And we know that we can't, as the EAC, say anything, but there's nothing stopping us as individuals saying that that's a bad idea, that's, and you can always put it, you can always do this. You can say, you can submit your written comments to wherever they say, and you tell them who you are. I'm Thomas G. Bradford, and I live here, and here's how you contact me, and I'm a member of the Environmental Committee of the Village of Tequesta. If they read that, then they think, oh, okay, whatever they think, but that's a backdoor way of letting them know that that's kind of your thing, and that then they feel like it's coming from that group.
Yeah. Generally would advise to say I'm not speaking on behalf of the committee, but
Yes.
but you can say you can drop the credentials.
I've probably done that 100 times. You get up and you say, hey, I'm Tom Bradford, and I am the president of such and such, and I'm not speaking for them today.
To your point, you guys could all send individual emails to the Army Corps related to that permit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm getting texted from our for the Dover Ditch tour, so
Yep.
we can wrap up.
Okay, so I think we're done with discussion. No other matters. Thank you all for your time and effort and input. I will accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Can I get a second?
What do we say? Just I second the motion?
Yep, that's all I need. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Okey doke.
So where are we